Men's soccer team coming back from a or a classic in Evansville, Illinois. Plays Thursday at Butler at 6:30, and then comes back for a home match Sunday at 7 p.m. against Portland at McClyman. And with that, we'll take some opening comments from Coach Trask.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Northwestern for hosting us this weekend. It's a good tournament. We've done this the past couple years. Last year, the games were here in Madison, and finished the weekend 1-1. Lost to a good Bowling Green team and late, and then turned around and beat a good Lehigh team on Sunday. So, a lot of positives, a lot of things learned. We've got one more week of non-conference play, and then we hit the road against Indiana a week from Friday on the Big Ten Network.
Questions? Todd?
John, what kind of things have stood out about your team that you've learned so far, and how you figure out how you need to play this year?
In sports, this next man up philosophy, and, sometimes kids have an opportunity to prove in training that they're ready to play, and sometimes they're forced into the limelight. And you hope in that moment that they've been prepared. They're preparing themselves, and we had a lot of players that have played very, very few minutes at this program that stepped up on Sunday. And as I told them after the game, I'm proud to be their coach. I know my staff feels the same way. But as I also went on, and believe me, this is not a political statement I'm making right now, I also said to the guys at the end of the game, Coach Alvarez built this athletic department. And though we're not sure if he knows whether a soccer ball is blown up or stuffed, he would have been proud of the team that represented this university. We were tough. We were honest. We were dependable. The next man up attitude was clear. We had 2 freshmen score goals. And so when you have those moments, as you're building the culture always of a program, and you can say that to a group of kids, because I just know if Coach Alvarez would have been in attendance, and I think many of the other coaches here on this campus would have said, that'll do me any day of the week. That was resilient, tough, Badger pride, Badger tough, and we deserved to win the game. Lehigh was a good team. It was a great contest, but we were the better team in the important moments. And to see Anaki, who's a true freshman, get his first goal out of a kind of goal mouth scramble and tuck it away, and Bobby Harris, who's a redshirt freshman who's been scrapping for playing time, going in and playing attacking midfield when our senior captain went down injured, and pulling out his box of toys and having some fun out there. That was also key. I mean, I think the guys had fun, and that's always part of being a good team in any sport as well.
Brian?
So next man up, it sounds like this has happened more than a few times in your first 4 matches. How banged up is your club right now?
I think if you add the guys that we're missing for the season, you'd roughly say about 7 starters right now out of 11. It's going to make us better long term. We'll get some of them back hopefully here in the next week and a half. Some of them obviously wouldn't be back at all this year, but sometimes cometh the moment, cometh the man, right? You got to just get on the field, and are you good enough? And Matthew Kaminsky's learning on the job now, which is nice, and just a lot of guys stepped up, and just proud, when you lose an Andrew Akindelli, who's the leading goal scorer for us 4.5 minutes into the game. We have to shuffle the lineup. We lose our captain in the first half another 15 minutes later, and we had already shifted systems because of some injuries. A win like that can do a lot for the development of the group, and I think it did. It was a great photo taken after with the skyline of Chicago in the background with a lot of happy faces.
Right.
So obviously with a roster that you have, there are those that weren't highly recruited, elect to walk on and what have you. It seems like you've gained confidence in some of those. Do you have more young men that maybe can fill those voids too?
Yeah, we'll be looking at some guys. We brought one, Justin Bob, who we were hoping to redshirt. We ended up telling him he was going on the trip, and he played major minutes in both games and looked great in a position that he didn't necessarily get recruited to play. He stepped up for us in the midfield, and that is who we are. I mean, we're fully funded, yes, but on a roster of 30, we have quite a few walk-ons, and they're here because they want to be a Badger, they want to be at the University of Wisconsin because of the educational opportunities, and they want to be a part of our program. And those kids, they're very, very important to the overall good of the program, and it's great when they get rewarded both with playing time and success. That is it. Like I said, you become pretty proud as a coach of a group of young men that are bought in and love it. And you always have your little struggles as you're setting culture, and we had some heart-to-hearts after the Friday night game, but I think the whole coaching staff and the team leadership knew that the guys' hearts are in the right place. Maturity comes in different moments, and it was nice to see it come out with our performance on Sunday.
Seems like injuries have been a theme going back even in the off season. How have you had to adjust training in knowing that guys that maybe were getting their minutes in training and now are getting their minutes in games? Does that impact the way you do things during the week at all?
Yeah, the guys have been great. Let's say we play 2 games in a weekend, and whether a Monday's off as an academic day, or one group would obviously need to put in some work because maybe they hadn't played. And I give a lot of credit to the guys who hadn't been playing a lot of minutes. They continued to work hard, whether it was with us or our conditioning coach, or even on their own. And they stayed ready for their moment, and that's not the easiest thing to do. But yeah, we'll go out and knock the ball for a few minutes on McLean today and get those guys back, let them do some studying, because we take off on a flight on Wednesday. There's not a lot of recovery time. Rest and recovery is most important. There's not a lot of X's and O's necessarily. We'll show them some film work of the new system we implemented. But other than that, it's getting the legs back, getting the minds right, and going down and having a great game, hopefully against Butler Bulldogs, which will be a great test.
Right.
I don't know if we'll see you next week, but the Big Ten does start after this weekend. I think the coaches picked Wisco to finish 5th this year. How does the Big Ten stack up, John?
Well, you had 3 teams in the Final Four last year with Indiana, eventual champion Maryland, and Michigan State. We came in second place in the league. I find it interesting every year. We usually are downsized, if you want to call it that. I'm not sure we always get the respect we necessarily deserve. But we'll be playing a team that was in a national semifinal, a very proud program on national TV against Indiana. They've had to replace some players. It's a storied program, no question about that. And that'll be the beginning of the Big Ten challenge that we'll have. So we got a couple more preparation games, as I call them. You want to win every game, obviously, but that the guys have that one on their calendar for sure, because it is Big Ten Network, and we're playing at Indiana, and usually there's on a Friday night probably over 5,000 people at that game. So it'll be a great environment to play college soccer in.